All right, welcome back. We're going to do chapter 2 today. So we're in Marketing is Freedom, and I'm going to just scroll down to chapter 2 here. Chapter 2 is one of my favorites. It's listen to your elders, and let's go right there. Okay, and I'm going to go a little bit bigger here. All right, so chapter 2, listen to your elders. This was not a difficult one for me, but I have seen it be a difficult action for others to understand. Respect for our elders allows us to gain from another person's lifetime. This is an environmental blessing for seriously everyone. If you can take the time to hear stories and life lessons from others, especially your elders, you are truly investing in your future. And it does not have to come from your direct environment. From picking up this book to opening up your comprehension and awareness, you can allow elders around you to share with you. And they absolutely love doing so. You will see a sparkle come into their eyes and they will just share away. Humanity is history being shared to improve upon itself for the future. In the family unit, there is a power when one generation truly works to enhance and benefit the next. Therefore, the evildoers of the world have been attacking the family unit. It allows for the betterment of the next generation. It allows the natural progression of everything to occur. We naturally want to create a better life and better future for our children than what we had ourselves. I was born the first grandson on both sides of my family, born to the oldest of both sides of the family, both my mother's side and father's side. And the siblings to my parents were more like older siblings to me than aunts or uncles. This was my environment, and it was the one that was beneficial for me. I had a young grandmother on my father's side. My grandfather, to whom my middle name was passed on through, was recently deceased prior to my arrival to this awesome planet. Also, I might add being born to a Mormon based religious belief system, or as I prefer politically now, Latter day Saints, in the self sufficient state of Utah in the best country ever known, America. I was encouraged and supported in my entrepreneurial ways from a young age. From 8 years old, sales and marketing were my thing. I was born with a silver tongue and somehow understood early on that listening and asking the right questions would get me what I wanted. While I did not come from a silver spoon, far from it, I desired more from my siblings, myself, and my mother. These were driving factors that set me off on the ways of finding my path and to be led to the time and financial freedoms of what marketing can create. My father was always best when in the military. He was a Marine and had left the service sometime after Vietnam and his marrying my mother. He wished to be full-time military, and after failed jobs and businesses, he returned to the structure and known environment of the military. Only he went to the Army as it was the best suited to stay in Utah where mom wanted to be. That kept me with my grandpa, and that was a great thing for me. My father contributed to my environment and path to where I am today. In 1984, the monopoly of telephones with Mother Bell occurred. And once controlled utility, the phone company used to be one company, right? You had to lease the phone even. You could never own them, right? You had to lease it from the phone company. When this transition occurred, my father took his military background in teletypewriters and military communications to form telephone service and supply, to which I listened, learned, and even participated in doing and learning the trade. Unknown to me at the time, it was allowing me the knowledge to change my direction in life towards my goals, dreams, and desires. And then in the 80s, it was about buying something in bulk and selling it individually for me. I represented various companies in door to door sales and really learned the art of conversation, building rapport and trust. From there, it was about presentation and interest. Mason shoes, American greeting cards, and so many other items that I could sell to my surrounding neighbors. My grandfather set me up with Mason shoes. He liked them and agreed to be my first customer, explaining the selling points and introducing me to a sales manual that was provided by the company. I devoured it and applied its teachings. I did not know what I did not know, and I was soaking up everything. My mother was a professional commercial artist. She was trained and had an incredible eye for the work she did. She hand drew diesel trucks, tractors, motorcycles, and such to then be placed on ball caps, t-shirts, and printed materials of every kind. She was working for printing shops and was busy all the time. She had a niche, solid clientele, and constant work. Though it was based on the labor she alone did and allowed her to be home for us when we came home from school, it was not exactly raking in the profits. Watching my parents struggle drove my desire to change things for me. My mother would take me to the printers she worked with, and I found another product to sell. Since my mother was doing the art and had moved to computers, I was already understanding programs allowed for setup and design. I also found great pride in my mother's work for various art pieces that were popular for people to put on the walls in their homes. I sold art door to door and then ventured into mom and pop restaurants and shops to sell business cards, menus, ad flyers, and whatever else they needed. I was building up a clientele and was making more in the marketing and sales side of printing than the art and labor side of the work being done. This led me to look for a mentor and to listen to those that had been in that career space for years. One printing broker was an incredible support for me from the time I was 14. This was Richard Davidson. He had a client in computer telephony. And one day while we were at the same printing shop, Richard with his computer telephony client and me with various clients work in progress. During our conversation together, I saw a user manual for his computer telephony client. I asked if I could look at it. I read it and was instantly interested in selling the technology. The technology was voice messaging. The service was adding a toll-free number to the voice messaging so small businesses could look and act like a large business. Within a couple of weeks, Richard had something better for me. His company had an internal office support center. It was the mailroom/sales support. It did not pay much, but I could be around the technology from the inside and learn it. I wanted an additional income stream. I was soon needing my own car, and I was about to be the legal age to drive. I took the opportunity and ran with it. This led to learning the technology, and with my background in telephones and building cables and working with commercial phone systems, I quickly adapted to the large phone switches and understanding to run things. Because there were other needs in the business and no one else seemed to be stepping up, I went to work. Soon I had built up a collections process for the company. I figured out ways to improve our billing and collecting and figured out different ways to create additional products and services within the computer system that we were using. I studied and tested different ideas and possibilities. I learned and adapted the voice messaging computers and software to service the needs of customers. Richard was always checking in, and we talked over things many times. He was more than helpful, and his best advice was what he both told me and showed me. He was a Navy man. He was someone that literally jumped from a helicopter, then dove down and planted explosives. He also was a much needed father figure and solid shoulder of reason for a determined youth. Richard knew and supported me in anything I wanted to do. He would always tell me I had something special and was proud to be my friend. The best advice he gave me, though, was to make it happen, do my best, and to listen and learn. In the years of watching him, he would listen and take things in. I got it. And that allowed me to make things happen in a big way. To this day, Richard shares ideas and directions. His sharing of his experiences in life, marriage, kids, careers, and passions have been guidance for me over 3 decades now. From the moment he saw my interest in voice messaging, he did everything he could to get me involved. He put forth incredible efforts and sacrificed time, driving, and even loaned me his car to help me get things set up. He was there for me all through the beginning and checked in ongoing. He also introduced me to the concept of enjoying a hand-spun shake and the value of always having a dollar bill in your wallet. Not to spend it, but to have it when all seems down and gloomy. Hey, you have a $100. You can always make it grow. Richard was formally educated as well as years of service in the Navy, yet he supported me in decisions that were greatly directional for me. Before the voice messaging interest and passionate knowledge I was seeking in that field, I was college bound. More so, being raised by a proud Marine, I had been raised in a military manner and have a footlocker that I cannot get rid of to this day. Because I was determined to be a millionaire, I was set to be an attorney from a young age. It was understanding statistics, math, and being true to me, and thankfully Richard was there to help set me straight. I had worked on the knowledge, worked on the grades, and West Point was in my sights. My father would have been proud, have been miserable. That realization and the realization you probably mean well, people that are giving advice on something they know nothing about should stay out of things they do not know. Something so important, I dedicated an entire chapter to the topic. I had teachers at college I was taking classes at during my last years of high school tell me my way of marketing and sales was wrong. Questioning everything and seeking answers from those doing what I wanted to be doing, I ended my college and university directions. Life was teaching me as I went, and clearly college or university was not in line with what was best for me. Definitely not right for what I wanted to get out of life. Plus, I should add that I had multiple streams of income already. My marketing and sales understanding were working well on them all. So seeing that the advice of the college professors gave me was incorrect, I say to listen to your elders, but it is taking from it what you should that matters. Not all things are correct for you. And sometimes it is realizing you have it right even when you are told it is wrong, especially where technology and innovations and how we communicate are involved. It was evolving back then and continues to today. As I was building and networking, I was also learning the way of trends, other products and services that were going in the same direction I was already heading. Somehow, the way I was marketing and selling was not only working with the main products I had chosen to market, but with multiple products in addition. I still laugh at the fact I had multiple teachers tell me that what I was doing was wrong. Sales and marketing are clearly diverse. Marketing makes the world go round, and when marketing is done right, sales becomes order taking, something that clearly was good to understand for mail order and especially online. There is a lot to be said for those that cannot do something. They often teach that very something. My methods, my way of seeing things was clearly not the status quo. That, and I was consuming knowledge and keeping up with the new directions that were being created. And at a time when computers and their use and availability to the masses was exploding. I had discovered that it was understanding people that was the real professional path I was on. The products or services I was marketing and selling were secondary. This we will cover throughout the book. Just realize the methods to marketing and then sales live by are useful no matter the product or service you are representing. Literally, the products and services are completely secondary to the understanding of the people to whom you are marketing to. Before I was 17, I was traveling all over the US doing sales presentations and training. I was balancing the rest of my high school education because of my understanding and skill sets with computers, computer telephony, and ability to sell and market already. I was in a great place. Lucky for me, I was the only competent computer user in the building. So I was involved in the meetings, taking copious notes, and involved in all aspects. I just made it happen. Shortly after graduating high school, I took over the international marketing director position. My decisions were increasing in my compensation and wealth and taking me around the globe. We were operating in 12 countries, and I was running staff in 3 offices and was traveling all through the US, Canada, Europe, United Kingdom, Asia, and Australia. This led to a path of discovery and enjoyment of fine wines. It began at the age of 22. It was in Germany at the conclusion of yet another European extravaganza event. While enjoying the after event staff dinner, Jim Rohn had requested to eat with me alone at a table away from the rest of the staff. I was beyond honored, and I had also put it out to the universe that this evening I would get some alone time with Jim. Like I had discovered years before, asking for things in the right way with gratitude and the knowledge it was deserved was a sure way to see that it would happen. This evening was a great start. I know we began the dinner with the cocktail, though for the life of me, that detail as to what the cocktail was has escaped my mind completely. I was into dirty martinis, still am on the right occasion, but cannot fully remember. I can, however, remember the very details of the evening from the time Jim and I sat down and began to order our meal. Jim and I were looking at the menu to secure the entirety of the restaurant for us. The wait staff was in full show and very attentive. There was no spared expense, and we were all accustomed to this treatment after such events. I decided on the filet mignon, which Jim also chose. Medium rare and with a salad to begin. I had a blue cheese and Jim went with the vinaigrette. After ordering the filet mignon, Jim asked for the wine menu and asked me if I would like to share a bottle of wine. I said, sure, to which he immediately asked what sounded good. I really had no clue at this time in my life. Being well versed on liquor and spirits, as much as 3 solid years of first class travel would afford, I was not a big fan of wine. Not because of taste, but because of ignorance. No one I was around while growing up really drank wine. I was raised religious in a manner that did not allow for alcohol of any type. I had not consumed a drop of alcohol until I was 18 and a half years old. And after I moved out on my own. So my response was a blank look. I had not really paid attention to wine. I knew some and other than knowing red was a choice for red meat. I was far from ready for this question. I replied, "Why don't you pick something?" It was obvious that I was not a wine person. Jim, as he would, began to teach me many of his teachings beginning with wine. Jim selected and verbally stated we would be having a Cabernet Sauvignon from the menu. He then signaled for the waitstaff that was attentively standing by. He smiled upon selecting it and said, "Oh, we deserve this." I smiled back, not knowing what he was referencing. The server was right on it. Within a few minutes, the server returned with the selected bottle in hand and presented it to Jim. Jim showed it to me, and I noticed it was from Napa Valley, California. Jim responded to the waiter with a big smile and requested it to be decanted. The server took the bottle and went back into the kitchen. For the longest time, as I recalled the story, I would always laugh that we went all the way to Germany to enjoy a bottle of wine from California. Back then, it was hilarious to me. Today, however, it could not mean more to me. As the waiter was seeing to the decanting, the conversation unfolding was about to change my life. I say this in regard to several things. This meal was an event for me. It set me on a road. And this road not only led to wine, but started many roads, all which connected to wine at the end of it all. Keep reading. The road is not short, and you should be on a second glass of Ricord Merlot by now anyway. And know that I am smiling big as you share this incredible moment in life with me. There are pivotal times in our life. Reflecting on them where things change is important. For me, this single experience with Jim Rohn was super pivotal. I cannot wait until we meet once again. While in his lifetime, he became a legend. He has helped so many to see things in a better light. I am honored to be passing his timeless teachings and honoring him by living to the best of what he taught me every day. We were in Germany, and Jim went on to explain that there were incredible wines all around the globe, and how even in Germany, which was known for its beer, had an incredible heritage in wines. He also broke down some knowledge on the different varietals of wine. I made a comment that I did not understand why some wine was $7 and wines in the restaurants were so much more. I was curious as to why people would spend so much for a beverage. It was something I was curious about. Up to this point, I had wines on the plane in first class and had not really understood much other than I liked the way it made me feel. The salads arrived and we finished our cocktails. The wine followed in a decanter. It was the first time I had seen a decanter up close. It was also clear as to how I reacted that I was seeing this device for the first time. Jim explained how it opened up the wine to let it breathe. The waiter poured Jim's glass with about 2 ounces. Jim looked at the wine in the glass, smiled. Then Jim smelled the wine, smiled. He swirled his glass on the table, making it whirl around, and then he sipped and savored. He swallowed and said, "Delicious." To which the waiter poured my glass halfway and then poured more into Jim's glass, setting both the bottle and the on the table. It was then that I asked Jim why he chose a California wine when we were in Germany. He chuckled somewhat and explained that it was a really good wine and that some of the best wine in the valley and the surrounding areas. Jim went on to discuss the manner to which wine was produced and what really goes into each bottle of fine wine. I had never been to a winery before. However, I had made wine with a close friend and I met while making beer. I discussed beer making and my experience in making a blueberry wine. I remember because when Jim broke down the winemaking process and the process to making beer, I realized I understood more than I thought I did. I also realized the cost of the raw materials and things began to make more and more sense. We discussed a lot during the dinner. We moved through the salad and enjoyed the wine with our filet mignon. We moved to the cappuccino and some chocolate cake that was being had by all the staff, and then Jim suggested we get some port. Now, I had seen port in the duty-free shops, and since everything was going perfectly, I agreed. It was tawny port. He had chosen it from the wine menu, and we enjoyed that, and it was time to leave the restaurant. We had been discussing the importance of taking time to enjoy life and reflect. The Europeans did things right. Long dinners, hours long. We were anything but rushed. The comparison of the way we were treated as compared to the United States was pointed out to me. Jim and I were not done that evening. We moved on from the restaurant and headed to the bar for cigars and scotch. I was in heaven. I knew scotch better than wine, and by now my education on the value and location of wines and spirits was becoming exciting. Passionate would be the answer. For as we enjoyed the cigar and scotch and Jim retired, I knew I had some incredible perspective. And my love for fine food was now combined with fine wine. My favorite meals would now be events, and taking time to celebrate and enjoy the company became something to slow down for me. This was all because Jim and I were able to converse, and he was able to share incredible knowledge and understanding. I'm going to share something that has been a complete part of my success: the learning and understanding of those that came before us. When I reflect on the shared struggles and successes from my elders, it was clear they learned and prospered forward from the generations before them. And this was something I saw great value in, especially if I wanted to get further in life faster than those who came before me. And while I had respect for Jim Rohn as a speaker, the learned knowledge and methods shared to me to enjoy my time and to slow down and to enjoy an event in a long meal with great food, great wine, and great company was priceless. It set me up for several things that have truly benefited me all these years. It also sent me into studying and consuming wines everywhere I traveled. I began making wineries part of my traveling agendas wherever I was able to. I would also add that if you ever want to see a great presentation on marketing, visit the tasting rooms of any winery or attend a virtual tasting in today's online wonderland, connecting a few to several thousand of us in a shared virtual event. The marketing process is one to behold. From experience of products and services to the types of women to date, I can tell you that areas of importance to listen to are not always what you think are important. If you can ever record to paper, writing it down, video, recording it, you can surely use it time and time again. Sometimes it will take a few repeat listens or views to allow it to fully sink into your learning and actions in the future. Sometimes it is a mere "I told you so" when you reflect on the shared knowledge after you made the choice to learn the lesson the hard way. Sometimes suffering through a bad decision on your own is necessary to appreciate the next lesson. And some of us are just slow learners. I like to think that I live by my own advice today. Advice that is passing of knowledge and experiences, both my own and those shared with me by my elders. The lessons I have learned came with time, patience, and several failures. Successes were and always will be great, and I celebrate them with huge smiles, great wine, and the best of company, never alone. Success is the applied lessons and understandings from the failures before it. Hopefully, lessons not all learned by you, but shared from your elders and mentors before you. Listening to the failures and not just the successes of others is incredible. Even in the construct of this very book, I turn to my elders and mentors. I have written thousands of blog pages and marketing pieces, but never have I written out an entire book, nor have I gone the publishing route. Thankfully, I am not a starving artist, and I have great mentors, elders in almost every case. They have guided me through this accomplishment. Though to bring to light that is that it is not one or a few that deserve credit for sharing with me all these years, I have been blessed with several mentors, many to which sought out and to which I sought out, and many that the universe put us into paths to collide and touch each other's life. I have mentioned a few in this book, and believe me, several deserve some reflection. One mentor in particular needs to be thanked with huge gratitude. Universal timing was perfect, and that tells me that incredible things are happening. And while a reference to him, and while a reference to him normally belongs in the preface of this book, it is here within this very chapter that it is most deserved. So thank you, Costa Gara, for your mentorship of over 17 years and for your shared vision and understanding as we make this world a better place. This book would never have been the masterpiece it is had you not shared the priceless details and knowledge as you did so freely to me, my friend, my brother. I cannot wait to share another bottle or three with you again and again. Some incredible things happened because of you before, as they will again. As we reflect on years past, some are hilarious as they worked out. Grateful our paths merged. It is also a note that in gratitude, Some that is so special to me, I can only let you know that the Costa Garo wines are a mere token of gratitude. I highly recommend a glass for celebration of something wonderful. The universe works in mysterious ways, and your elders have messages that are timeless if you but listen to them. You can learn a lot from spending a Saturday afternoon with them, even. Take them to lunch. And if you want to really enjoy the time, take them somewhere they should enjoy that is a new experience for them. The price of a meal can be well spent, and it is the right energy you are giving to receive. You can gain the same with a bottle of wine or a particular spirit they enjoy. From there, just get to know what they did to get where they got to. The details and learning experiences are where the priceless knowledge came from. Asking the right questions is always key. Where did things start for you? How did you get from starting to advancing? When did you start having children? How did having a family change things? Who were your mentors in life? What are you passionate about? Are there things you wish you could do over or do again? Be sure to pay in gratitude for their time and wisdom. Not all mentors are wealthy in money, and not all that are wealthy are necessarily wise. You can learn a lot of things when you listen and stay quiet, and can miss out on a lot by speaking too much. Now that takes us to chapter 3, which we'll read in the next session. Now I'm going to just go into some deep dive of information here. I could talk about elders for a very, very long time, and I reflect a lot, with my grandfather, and I couldn't get enough from him. Like, he could talk to me forever, and he would talk to me while we were working the garden together, working in the wood shop together, cleaning the garage out together, everything that we would do, work on cars, the yard work, and he would teach me drafting and talk to me while we would do things. And I would always ask for stories. I would always ask for what he did, and he would be so happy to share. And that's where I learned a lot of things, and I learned about integrity, and it was asking questions and why things worked out that way, and gave him the opportunity to reflect on the decisions he made and what he saw in life and what truly made things happy. As I progress, you learn to ask those questions, and it was something that was really important with my children, is that I wanted them to be influenced to talk and discuss with adults very, very young. I would invite them to meet my business partners. I'd invite them to meet, other adults and interact with them, so that they can learn and not be scared of the adult, or be shown that way. And it's something that I think was very great for me growing up. I talk about it where I was the oldest grandson on both sides, about the oldest, which means that and I come from big families, so that when the oldest kids are having kids, their parents still had kids that are pretty young. So my aunts and uncles were 7, 8, 9, 11 years older than me. And I was, the first, baby boy. I had an older sister. She got treated like a baby. They just treated me like a boy. Like, I was hung out with them. And even as things went further, I was always on the adult table, and the kid table was the kid table. I was treated like a brother. I was probably that little brother with them all the time. And I'll put some little passions in. People know I like the Dallas Cowboys. My uncles got me a poster. I think it was to kind of upset my mother. It was Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Oh my gosh, did I love that poster, right? And it was in my room. Got a lot of attention with mom, and they didn't like the Cowboys. They were from Utah, and most people would split the difference. They like the San Francisco 49ers. They like the Denver Broncos based on proximity, and they like the Broncos. And for whatever reason, my uncles disliked the Cowboys. So, I like to go against the grain sometimes, and it kept it interesting and fun, and gave me a reason to bet on games with them. And during especially during the late 70s and 80s and 90s, I mean, Cowboys were just dominant in those years, and it was great for me. Bad for the Broncos. So I had a lot of fun, and that's the only team I've ever liked. But that's what started me on that. And people like, and I grew up to really like Dallas, and I still like Dallas a lot. And I'll point that out there. I created a lot of business contacts out there because I needed the reason to go. All that were things set in motion. But the aspect that I learned from being introduced to adults young, I wasn't afraid to talk to adults. And because of that, when I was 14 and I saw a product and service I could sell at the art, I had no intimidation whatsoever to walk into a shop, talk to the owners, and set them straight on how to market stuff. I had this amazing ability. Like I knew my stuff. I was very confident, and I had no problem to walk up and do that. And that sheer confidence, they would give me a try. I mean, it was that. And so I was really impressed on when I had kids, I was going to have them be involved. And, I would take my kids to business meetings at young ages, right? Pretty much 2, 3, 4, they'd come in there and I would teach them how to be respectful and listen and watch and clue in and not be afraid to be part of the conversation. And, typically I was in a pretty good situation where I was running the company, right? And so people would come in and they would respect my kid because of my position. But when my child would speak and speak eloquently and engage, they were just blown away. And and to this day, it's helped them in many ways to interact, and be able to do that. And that's, been important to me. And, I look at that, that's something I could, give them to listen to your elders, right? Don't be afraid to ask how they did that and what you could benefit from it. And if there was something they wanted to do or a profession they wanted to learn, and I had a friend that was in that profession, I always wanted to connect them so they could learn from somebody that's their elder that's done this before. Learning from someone else's experiences is genius, right? You read a book or a masterpiece of somebody that's an expert in something. That's how you gain the knowledge, right? You can learn and live it in a lifetime, or you can share someone else's lifetime and apply it to yours to make your lifetime better. And with the internet especially, we have access to so much. I have an Audible account. I listen to books on books electronically. It's not even books on tape anymore. It's all digital. And when I'm flying on a plane or I'm traveling, I'm listening to audio as much as I'm reading. And sometimes I read it and I listen to the audio and you take it in and and you get to share all that stuff forward. And then it changes. But the trueness of integrity, the trueness of working with people the right way, it's a genuine truth. It doesn't change. Truth doesn't change. And the applications of it, and you watch how things go, and it's just awesome. So I break into it. It's one of those things. I mean, I could talking with elders and the things I've learned from so many others. I gained knowledge from people that lived it, and I applied it. And after a while, you start seeing the patterns go, and they would, I'd be cautioned, like, don't do this or don't do that because this will happen. And if I did it by accident or did it without thinking, or it came up and I got the reaction, it's like, they told me that would happen, and that would cement the lesson in. And a lot of things I was able to dodge or conscious decision in the right direction because of the foresight shared with me from someone else's experience. It's priceless. And there's a wealth of it out there. And it doesn't even matter the walk of life. It doesn't matter if they're a janitor, a mechanic, a wealthy CEO, business owner, a doctor, a nurse. It doesn't matter. Their life and experience is something to gain from. They've have an experience, and time is it's ever going. We can't get it back. We can't stop it. But borrowing somebody else's education through their time is definitely a way to gain, and highly recommend it. All right, see you guys on next for chapter 3.